Welcome to a nice, quiet, peaceful place in eastern Kansas. Unfortunately, it has a dark past. This particular spot is called the St. Mary's Mission and a memorial to St. Philipine Duchesne. That's French, I think I said it right. But it's also the last stop on what the Potawatomi Indian Nation called the Trail of Death. And the reason is because in 1838, about 900 of them were rounded up off of their land in Indiana and forced at gunpoint by soldiers to march here and spend their days. And it was 600 and some miles, and many of them died along the way, which is why it's called the Trail of Death. And the memorial is much bigger than this. I'll get to it. And these plaques tell the story, and I'll have pictures of those at the end so you can pause it and take a look. And again, it's a really nice area, and I think one of the reasons they stopped here was because of this natural water source. This is a freshwater spring. I followed up there. You can't really see where it starts, but it also comes out from right here, and you can see right here there's a little bit of water movement. It's coming out from there, and I'm going to assume that this is full most of the time. This was probably used as a well, and it comes out over here to a creek, and we'll go down there in a minute. We'll take a trip down there, but you can see where when it rains it really flows pretty good. So we're going to head down there, but right now we're going to go up here and look at some other stuff. These indentations here, according to archaeologists, indicate there was a building here at one point. And it says that these holes here, these pits were formed before the Potawatomi Indians showed up. They may or may not have used them, but again, according to archaeology, they say these predate their arrival, and they say the rounding of the stone indicates that. Now here's an idea of how big it is. There's my size 13 shoe, and there's several of these around here. And again, another sort of hill here. So there were buildings here at one point. They don't know what they looked like or when they were, or if the Potawatomi built them when they got here. So after seeing some of the ancient sites that I've seen in New Mexico, I'd be real curious to find out how old these really are. They would have stacked up the stones and then carved them out, because there's a lot of loose. Because stones are everywhere around here, especially along the creek line over there. I didn't find any information about this stone wall, but as you can see, they're just kind of lined up against each other, not stacked up. They're just kind of laid next to each other like fallen dominoes. And the creek is just right over there in the woods. There's the beginning right there where we started. So I would imagine they spent a lot of time pulling these rocks up from around there. There's a few rocky outcroppings around here that I've seen, so it's hard to say. But either way, it doesn't look like your typical farmer stone wall. It's a nice painting done by Edna Boots. Sits right here along the wall. This looks a lot typical of the area, the way they built stone walls. Maybe those down there just fell a little bit. Now that I look at this stone wall, it's pretty obvious that the upper layer is higher than the lower layer. So I wonder if it wasn't built to prevent erosion. Again, the creek is just right over here. This is a lower level and this goes up. So maybe this was done to keep this layer here from washing out. Maybe this was an original road, I don't know, but it's pretty obvious when you look at it. Some farmer could have done this just 100 years ago even. The mission was 1838. So there's the stone road. Back there is where we started, and along here is the Fort Scott and California Road. This road was used by settlers going to Fort Scott, where groups going to California and New Mexico were escorted by the U.S. cavalry. This is the only section of the road to still exist. Obviously, it would look different then than it does now. And Fort Scott is southwest of here. And by the time the Civil War started, that fort had already been sold to private hands. And when the Civil War began, they bought it back. And the Battle of Westport in Kansas City, the Union chased the rebel army down Highway 69. Got stopped in Mound City, which is east of here, just east of here, where there was the largest cavalry battle site this side of the Mississippi River. That's another place I can go and show you sometime. And then that's when they caught up to them. And there's actually an interesting site there. You can see where the wagons crossed the creek down there. It's pretty cool. You can see the actual rut still there. We'll probably get down here later, but I'm not sure if there's anything to see. But we do have other things to see, so let's move on. Here's another plaque to a priest who accompanied them along the journey, a Father Petit. He died shortly after the journey. This particular one shows everywhere they camped along the way. Said it took about 2 months. This one says 40 Indians died. The other one said 39. Either way, it was around 40. This is a memorial to more than 600 who died and were buried here. Miles from their ancestral home. So all this area, 600 people were buried, were forced to come here. Their names are here. Some of them you might be able to see. I know it's a silver plaque. It's a silver plaque. Somebody put up a feather on this one. Not sure if that's going to come through or not. I'll find out when I get home and look at it, but took some pictures anyway. But yeah, over 600 Indians are buried out here. This is the remains of a log cabin. with a stone foundation. It was built for St. Philippine and 2 other nuns. It says the cabin was 19 by 19 and used as a schoolroom for the Indian girls, and the loft served as a sleeping area for the nuns. So this was a 2-story building at one point. And remember, this mission was started in 1838, so it's been a while. They keep it pretty cleared out around here. Trees knocked down so you can still see it. But it's pretty good size. Pretty big foundation. The Indians did the work for them. 5-room log convent, completed March of 1842. Nothing but a pile of stone now. But 5 rooms. Obviously that tree wasn't there. Same with these. Priest's house. Looks like 8 or 9 priests lived here at one point. And this was a big area. At one point there was a church over here. It's gone now. It was burned after they moved all the Indians out of here. And it said at one point 1,200 Indians came for services. So this was a big place. I would imagine the Indians lived probably in teepees or tents along there. It doesn't say anything about cabins for them. There's more of that stone road, and again, it goes all the way back. So yeah, I'm sure this was probably a road at one point. It goes all the way back there. We'll go that way. This is a memorial to Saint Philipine Duchesne. They gave her an Indian name, woman who prays always. She was canonized as a saint, 1988. This is a memorial. Nothing on the flagpoles, but a big cross up there. And again, here's where we started, way down there. The stone road through here. The Indian graves back there. And all the stone buildings were right in there. So there's the convent schoolhouse. This is another one here. And that's the priest's house. And right here, going down this way, is a stone road. You can see the stones carefully laid out. Kind of a barrier there. And it kind of ends here. Maybe it went along here, stones here. And that would make sense because this is that road that I just showed you. And we're going to follow that because it says it goes to Indian Well. Now again, that spring, freshwater spring, was up that way. The creek goes all the way down here. So I would imagine that's why they chose this spot, because it was fresh water. And I don't know, maybe there were buffalo at the time. We saw those in western Kansas, so maybe they were here too. And again, you can see this clearly defined wall. Goes all the way back there, down in here. It doesn't say anything about whether it was part of that road to Fort Scott or not, but now I'm thinking that probably this was built by the Indians for the mission because it leads down to the well. So we'll be there in just a minute. Very rocky along here. It's going to be a huge outcrop here. Back over that way, I've seen it before. I think we'll probably get there. This area, we're just east of an area called Mound City, and there's a lot of mounds, a lot of huge giant mounds. There's a lot of rocky outcrops around here, and some of them are just pretty cool looking. Here's the end of the wall. Comes right down to one of these rocky outcrops I was telling you about. We're right on the top of a little valley here. I'm sure that creek runs all the way down there. It's probably flooded up here more than once. And so they just ended the wall right here, the natural spot. And so I think the well is down this way, so we'll keep going. So we've come to the creek. It's got a lot of water in it. And somebody built up some concrete blocks for us to walk across. And it's just dead quiet around here. I've got the wind filter on the microphone, but it's so quiet, so peaceful. Nothing but birds. Here's the well. It says hand dug about 1836. The mission started 1838 when the Indians got here, so I don't know what the discrepancy is, but either way, here's, again, big hill. The mission's up there. The creek ran all the way down here. I don't know why they would have come so far, except for the fact that it was probably dug before they got here. There's water in it now. And there's the creek. But if you know anything about natural water filtration, this is perfectly normal. What they do, if you dig around this far from a water source and you get down to the water table and you line it with rocks, and there's probably rocks down at the bottom, it naturally filters the water. So if you're ever stuck in the woods, if you're ever without water, this is actually a very good tip. And of course they knew it way back then. It may be 30 feet from the creek to here, but again, it's lined with rocks, and it's just a natural filtration. The water table probably, could be all over here. So there's a tip for you if you ever need it. I don't know what I was expecting, but that wasn't it. Either way, you're talking about a well that's nearly 200 years old. Right out here. And creek here, typical Kansas. Creeks just follow wherever they cut through the mud and join up someplace to make a bigger creek. This is another area that doesn't come to mind when you think about Kansas. It's big rock outcropping. It's been a lot of rocks have fallen down over the centuries, millennia. Nice place to get away if it was raining. A lot of big tumbling. The creek's down there, the well's right over there. A little breezy. Hopefully the mic's working good. A lot of moss. And probably the Indians came down here. Not going to find anything ancient around here. They came here. They didn't come here by choice. Probably the Indian kids came down here to play. Maybe the guys came down here to hunt. Not going to find anything ancient down here. There were Plains Indians in this area already when they got here, and it's not uncommon to find arrowheads and axe heads on the farmland around here. But these Indians just got here in 1838, so nothing ancient, but they probably were here. It's a nice area, very quiet, peaceful forest. Do a little parkour here. Whoa, that was tough. Here's another one. Big cliff. We're just on the back side of the mission. It's just on top of this hill over there. I think I'll head up this way. Follow the trail. Interesting area. I like it here. It's an interesting area. It's typical of Kansas. A lot of woods, a lot of dirt, creeks. Even that rocky outcrop. There's quite a few of those around here. So here's the site again. The priest's house, the creek all the way over there, St. Philippine's house, where she and the nuns stayed, in the schoolhouse. The well is way over that way. And it's a Catholic site. It was a Catholic mission, so they do the Stations of the Cross, but they built it into the woods, a nice path through the woods, which is really interesting. I wouldn't recommend it in the summertime. It'd be full of bugs and ticks and flies and spiders. But it's pretty interesting. I did it once before. I won't do it now just because it'll take too long, but if you like that kind of thing, it's probably better than just doing it in a church. Well, there's the mission, the memorial to St. Philippine Duchesne, little one to Father Petit. You have to feel a little sympathy for people who were forcibly marched 600 miles from their ancestral home, forced to come to a place like this. I mean, as nice as it is, it's very beautiful, peaceful, and quiet. Probably looks a lot like it did back then, but there's 600 people buried out there. They spent their lives here until they were moved to another mission. And I'm sure the priests and the nuns did everything they could to help them out here. In fact, Father Petit, he gave his life for it, and he said that's what he wanted to do. He rode all the way down here with them spent some time here, then ended up going back up to the Indiana area because he was so sick. He had open sores that wouldn't heal. He ended up going back up there in an open wagon, and he ended up dying at 27 years old. But he did everything he could for him. And so, hate to end on such a negative note like that, but I guess if there's anything positive, you know, again, people did try to help him, and this was at least the end of the Trail of Death. I'll just give a quick rundown of some of this. 1838, nearly 900 Indians, rounded up by soldiers, marched at gunpoint for 61 days. So many died on the way and were buried on the roadside that it is called the Trail of Death. A 6-year-old Billy Ward followed his Indian friends miles south of Rochester, wanting to go along, but his mother caught him and took him home. A child born and a child died. 4 children died. Physicians report 300 cases of sickness. Saturday 15th, young Indians allowed to go hunting. 2 small children died along the road. Sunday the 16th, 1 woman about to give birth. Whole country afflicted with sickness. Again, child died after dark. 2 children died. Water found only in stagnant ponds. More children died. Wednesday, 24th October, talk is of trouble between Mormons and citizens of Upper Missouri. This is 1838. Sunday, November 4th, arrived at Potawatomi Creek, end of our destination. 20 miles. Indians greeted by other Indians. And then here at the bottom, total miles traveled 618, total deaths 39. Diary written by Jesse C. Douglas, enrolling agent. And then the total distances. Trail of Death descendants today are Citizen Band of Potawatomi in Oklahoma and Prairie Band of Potawatomi in Kansas. They prefer the spelling Potawatomi.